10-minute daily reality check, January the 3rd. And, it's real funny. People are actually motivated. It's so fascinating to listen or watch people right now get on things. As a matter of fact, I sent one of my services I use all these things to be worked on, and they got back to me in 2 hours. 2 hours, because it was January the 2nd. They haven't gotten back to me in 2 hours since last January the 2nd. But yet they must have had that motivational talk, All right, people, it's a new year, it's a new you. We are going to kick ass this year, and we are going to get things done. I love that shit. This is so cool. It only lasts about a week for most people, but yet everybody's so gung-ho. I'm going to go out, I'm going to date a lot, I'm going to go do this, yeah, and they go 100 miles an hour, and then they crash into that proverbial wall, which is called life. And all of a sudden, they can't keep it up because your goals, as I talked about in an article I wrote and some of the other podcasts, your goals are unrealistic. You can't go 1,000 miles an hour if you're used to going as slow as a tortoise. So you have to go as a quick tortoise in order to become a medium hare. And then you need to go as a fast hare before you become a jaguar. It's all stepping stones and everything else. So Obi is here right now, and we were kind of talking about what my theme was last year. My theme last year was find somebody who is amazing in the inside. Because I've always been really attracted to the outside. That's always been my fucking tripping, point. Like, I would get so caught up with her looks, and I would overlook the fact that she was a really fucking bad person inside, or I'd overlook that she was a narcissist, or I'd overlook that she was self-centered.
Or a good person.
Right? It's like I picked really great people, and I got to tell you, most of my relationships have been with really fantastic people, but I've always said this my entire life, because I was so caught up with the physicalness of somebody, I would overlook a lot of the things, and I would stay in relationships way longer than I should have stayed in. So last year, one of my lessons was a big lesson. That lesson was, look at someone's soul. You can always work and get back into shape together or eat more healthy or whatever it might be. But you got to look at their soul and you got to look at their face.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with your year last year.
It was a good year.
Yeah. I have, every time I'm in Whole Foods, I see this type. And I'm like, oh, that's a Wygant type. Oh, no. I actually saw this one earlier. I went to Whole Foods. She's tall and slender. And I was like, oh, he would totally be into that. But last year, I remember you would come home and you'd tell me things about certain women that you're dating that you were unsure of, but you were going to stick with it. You were talking about patience and the idea of having patience and sticking with someone that you're interested in and kind of seeing what happens regardless of maybe some of the triggers that come up. How did that work out for you?
It's funny. The triggers that came up were triggers that I needed to have, but I actually saw the people for who they were.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't so caught up with the Wygant type. Not that they weren't beautiful women,
yeah,
right?
Of course. Yeah, that's always going to be a baseline.
Yeah, it's always a baseline, but it was more like, instead of me looking at the physicalness so much, I started concentrating and thinking to myself, all right, I'm always going to have beautiful women on the outside. Maybe I start looking deeper on the inside, right? And I started looking deeper on the inside. And I started giving people who I normally wouldn't be with, single mother, who was struggling to make ends meet, another woman who was definitely not my body type, at all. And I decided, because she was a good people, I was like, let me give these people an opportunity. And the funny thing about it is because I started seeing who they truly were, I started expanding myself and seeing things in myself and getting greater lessons than I've ever had before. Instead of having to fix, because that was always my thing, let me rescue the fucked up person because that was my mother. Let me repeat mom all over again. Hey, mom, you're in heaven right now, and I know you're enjoying the podcast. Thumbs up, shout out to you, pass it along. I know there's a lot of good dead people out there that really need to listen to the podcast, and do me a favor. I make a list of all the dead people that need to do it. That's if my mom is really listening, because, in LA, people think, woo, dead people are listening 24/7, right? So I learned a lot. I learned to really give people an opportunity and really listen. And now I'm in this fabulous relationship because of what I've done, and, we even talk about it, all the preview people, all the people that got me to really open up and see someone for who they are. I wasn't picking them apart anymore. I wasn't looking at the things I used to look at. I was looking at the person who's presenting themselves. How do they show up every single day? What do they do? How do they treat me, right? Because, the relationships that we had with mom and dad, we were I call it the scared caretakers, right? So we get in a relationship and we become the giver. The giver never can receive. So I learned how to receive last year. That was a big fucking thing for me. And then I realized some of these women I dated, they didn't give as much as they say they were going to give. As a matter of fact, they were more receivers. And I've had enough fucking receivers to last a lifetime. So I started just seeing them. And instead of taking the story because they were hot, or, I would take the story 5 levels deeper, I was so present. And because of being present, I'm able to experience what I'm experiencing now.
Sure, man. But how do you do that though? Exactly. Because you got to think about this. Like, we all have our triggers. We all have our things. We'll have things that kind of come up in the first date, first 2 dates, first 3 dates of seeing someone new. And then you project into the future. I have this, I'm noticing, I'm like, oh, I'm going to fuck this girl up because I see some things that maybe I'm not sure about. So I know that maybe in the future, in a few months, I'm going to lose interest. And then it's going to be a problem, right? And so then I start like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't do this, or maybe I shouldn't do that, right? That's a trigger for me. So how is it that you are able to get past your triggers and stay in?
Okay, first off, I started looking at myself and I started thinking to myself, I'm 55 years old, I'm not perfect, right? And I started looking at my shit, I started looking at my body, right? I've got compressed discs in my lower back. I got sciatica that I'm working on to get rid of. I don't move the way that I used to move. I got scoliosis of my mid-back that's caused some of that problem. So I'm not exactly the perfect physical specimen, right? Even though from the front, I'm ripped and everything else, I'm in great shape for who I am. So I stopped thinking I was this, because you and I are workout people. So we have this perfect physical specimen fucking idea, and we're such healthy people. The way we eat. Oh, look at lunch. I'm staring right now at it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to get in that fish protein, because now I'm eating fish. I'm eating so much fish that I swear to God, if I was swimming in the ocean right now, a shark would eat me, and I would fucking probably taste good. I taste like between salmon and Opa 24/7, right? So I started looking at myself, and I started seeing. Instead of being so physical with myself, I started looking at the triggers that came to me. And what were the triggers that came to me? What was I seeing in these people? A woman I dated over the summer, I was rescuing her. I'm going to rescue her. She's got a couple of kids. And, one of her daughters I fucking loved so much, because her daughter was literally the daughter that I don't have, with the relationship I don't have with my daughter. And I was like, whoa, that was fucking heavy duty, right? Like, all of a sudden I realized her little girl would greet me at the door. Her little girl was excited to see me in the morning. Her little girl was so happy when I slept over. Her little girl was, ecstatic to go spend a Friday with me. Her little girl wanted to spend all day with me. Her little girl, nothing that my kid does. My little kid can give a shit half the time. That's what I always feel like when I'm with her. I'm always like, really? It's like, do you even give a fuck if I'm even here or not?
Yeah.
And it's not her fault. It's her relationship with her mother, and that's where she's at in her life, and that's whatever. It's like, so I started looking at those things, and I started thinking to myself, am I really in love with this person, or am I going to rescue my life, which is a trigger, right? So not only was I trying to rescue her from being the good man she never had, I was trying to rescue myself and thinking to myself, yeah, you see that I can have a family. And that's where I realized, my daughter is my daughter, my daughter, my relationship with my daughter is where it's at. And it's like, and it's going to change, and it's going to be fixed as soon as my daughter gets older and more aware of things, right? So I realized that, like, I was once again trying to rescue somebody, trying to fucking help somebody out. And it wasn't doing me good. So I looked at the reflection back at me, and I thought to myself, wow, this is interesting. I'm learning something here. I want someone to care for me. I want my person. I want a woman who gives a shit about me. I want somebody who cares about my health and cares about my well-being and cares about who I am, and we can equally do it with each other. And I realized that here I was once again trying to fucking make my fucked up shit go away through someone else's fucked up shit by living their life. That was the big way to get rid of that trigger.
So it's almost like something was like kind of opposite of what a lot of people say, but you were being selfish.
Yeah.
You started to kind of focus on what you were getting and what you were receiving and how that felt. And then that changed your approach.
Yeah.
That changed how you engaged.
I finally got selfish. It's like, come on. I mean, look at the relationships that I've had. I've always been giving. And I've been with some very beautiful givers. But, the last, that one big lesson that I had was with a taker. A complete taker, right? And then I was with somebody who was gorgeous and another taker in a way, an emotional taker, because she was emotionally unbalanced. And I realized that was my mother, and that was what I was used to. So you have to clip it. I am with somebody who's a huge giver. Like, holy shit. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's consistent because she consistently gives every day, but yet so do I.
Yeah.
So we're matching it. It's like, and I look at it like on a number scale. I'm a 1, she's a 1, right? Because there's different types, and you and I are working on that program with different types, right? And she's amazing because I deserve it. And I think that's the biggest thing that last year is that I finally realized, fuck, I deserve this. And you deserve it. And that's why all these women, you have to look at these women as either stepping stones for you. There's no one going to be perfect. Everybody's going to have that imperfection, that hook nose. I remember my girlfriend in college from a side angle looked like Toucan Sam.
Yeah.
Ugly fucking nose.
Yeah.
Wet. When she was wet, she looked like a wet parrot with long hair. But I got to tell you, one of the most gorgeous fucking people and women I've ever been with.
Yeah.
She loved me to death. We were a fucking great couple. We had a lot of fun. We were kids.
Yeah.
But we have to stop looking. We have to look at the person being presented, and we have to start thinking to ourselves, am I living a story or am I actually creating a new one? And right now I'm creating a brand new story with a brand new person.
Yeah.
First time ever. The rest of the time they were just stories that I needed to relive.
No, that's a good point. I'm over here having flashbacks in my mind. All these different women I've dated. But it's what? It's the second of the year. It's a new year. Right? It's gonna charge forward and do things differently. We'll see how that goes.
No, we're going to do things differently because we're committed to doing things differently. And that's what I was telling people. It's like, don't just think it's going to change because it's a new year. Actually commit to doing things differently. I'm committed to doing things differently.
That's true.
This is going to be the best year money-wise. Okay, this is going to be the best fucking year love-wise because I've already planted the seeds of that. If you think about it, since fucking October, I've been planting the seeds in that. So I'm in a fucking amazing relationship. I feel great about it. I planted the money seeds by getting rid of the bad, a lot of the garbage that was going on, the negative energy. So you have to have that momentum, but you got to know it's trigger, go away, come back again another day. It's going to come back another day.
Oh, totally. It's an everyday fight. It's just like anything else. I mean, just like dealing with moods or depressions or this and that. You can know the things that keep you and going in a positive direction, and you stay on that stuff. So where discipline comes from, right? And then things change.
Everything changes. Tomorrow we'll be back. Do me a favor. Every single day I'm going to remind all of you, please spread the podcast. I'm not a good social media person, but you are. So spread the podcast. And also, for those of you who made money in Bitcoin, I am offering something to all of you. This is something somebody said to me. We can talk about it. If you want to give up a coin or two, I will give up a large amount of my time because I know it became free money for a lot of you. So we can talk about kind of inspirational coaching because this year I've committed to mentoring people. Men, women, whatever it might be. I want to fucking mentor the shit out of people this year. You know why? Because it's really important for me. So I am now fully accepting every form of payment. Bitcoin, Litecoin, any coin there is. Because the fact is the world is a-changing and I want to change you along with it. We'll see you tomorrow. 10-Minute Daily Reality Check out.